Great. All right. Well, I think we are formally ready to get things going if you feel like you're ready.
All right. So welcome everybody on the live stream. Um, we're happy to have you, Logic and I. This project is near and dear to our hearts.
It's 74. You should be 83. I don't know. We're close.
I hear something.
Sorry about that.
Is near and dear to our hearts. It's been a long time coming. And first of all, just to give you a little bit of a perspective about me, I don't know, Logic, you can go ahead and start with the slides.
Sure. I'll get that going right now.
And so Logic does, and he'll introduce himself a bit to you, but he does documentaries. He also does a freedom tour bus ride where they take you around San Antonio and they show you all the landmarks, the Black historical landmarks. So that's how we met. I was with my colleagues and my daughter, and she was with her son, and I saw him with the camera, and I'm like, maybe maybe you can do a documentary for me. And I wanted to do a documentary about Black mothers because I'm a Black mother, right? I'm a Black mother to 2 children. Unfortunately, one was stillborn. And so that is why this is a project that's near and dear to my heart. My son was born, stillborn. And so I wanted to do something about it, right? Like I felt a sense of helplessness and I wanted to do something about it. And I know when I was having my child, both children, right? I always remember being bombarded with all these statistics about Black children, Black infants being at a higher risk, but also Black women. So the name of our documentary is High Risk because of this. It's this idea, but it's not from a negative perspective. It's this idea that Black women are more at risk because they're exposed to these kinds of, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but they're exposed to this idea of obstetric racism. This is what they encounter when they go into the hospital. And I'll talk about this in a minute. So we can go to the next slide and I'll kind of give you an overview of what we're thinking about. So we are thinking about this idea that America is one of the most developed countries in the world, but they have one of the highest maternal mortality rates. This is essentially a rate of death if you're going into childbirth or if you have are pregnant with an infant, right? And what research has found is that Black women are driving this mortality rate up. The deaths of Black women, right, is causing this higher maternal mortality rate. Now there's research obviously that proves that Black women have inadequate access to quality healthcare, right? That's sometimes it's the lack of access to doctor's visits, right? It's a lack of access to proper treatment in that kind of way, right? And there are services that are looking to get at that problem, right? But one thing that I think that the research also reveals is that these poor health outcomes, these negative health outcomes that Black women experience are experienced by Black women of all socioeconomic backgrounds, right? Meaning if you're a Black woman who is highly educated, right, who is making over 100,000 a year, right, you're still at risk. You're still 3 to 4 times more likely than a white woman who is uneducated, right, who maybe has a high school diploma but no college degree and is making maybe 25,000, less than 100,000. Her baby, when she's pregnant, they're still more likely to live, to have a better maybe middle to upper class is more at risk, right? And when you go and you look at the numbers, and sometimes I know we're talking a lot about numbers, but when you go and see the faces of these women and you go and read their stories, they come from all walks of life, right? There was a CDC worker who actually passed away, right? Who actually did research on the inequalities that Black women face. So what that tells us is that it doesn't matter if you're upper class Black woman, a lower class Black woman, a middle class Black woman, you're still at risk. So one thing researchers are beginning to think about is what's going on in these hospital rooms, right? Dana Ayin Davis, who is also a researcher, she coined this phrase, obstetric racism. And obstetric racism is this idea that healthcare professionals are dismissive, they're disrespectful to Black women. They don't trust that Black women actually know when something is wrong with their body. And so instead of actually listening to the patient and coming up with treatment and care for the patient, they actually end up dismissing the patient or causing pain that can sometimes be lethal, right, to the patient, right? And this is how she defines obstetric racism, and she does this by talking to Black women and listening to their testimonies and what they've experienced in these kinds of situations. So that is an overview of the issue, right, that Black women are facing. If we go to the next slide, right, you'll see how we're trying to come about it, like what Logic and I are doing differently. Because I want to be clear, right? This is, we're coming at it from an empowering perspective, right? We're trying to think of ways we can empower Black women, Black mothers in particular, because whenever I tell Black mothers about this, they say, you know, when I was pregnant, they give me their stories, right? And they also say, you know, reading about this on the news or hearing about it, it's a sense of fear, right? It's like, oh my goodness, I'm a Black mother. What does this mean, right? And of course, we can think about that in terms of reproductive violence, right? This is what Black women are essentially experiencing. But in our documentary, we take a look at Black midwives. We take a look at this idea, not an idea, but a historical reality that African women brought their midwifery practices to America, right? They brought all their kind of techniques that they were using, right, back where they came from. And so what we think about is this idea over time, eventually they were, Black midwives were so widespread, particularly in the South, right, that eventually people began calling them granny midwives. It was an affectionate term for midwives. And these midwives cared for Black and white people, right? So it was not uncommon, especially if you're of a certain age and you're from the South, like my mother was delivered by a midwife. My grandfather was delivered by a midwife. It was not uncommon to be delivered by a midwife, right? But by the mid-1900s, there was a campaign launched. Essentially, you could call it like a smear campaign launched against Black midwives that began saying, you know, they're dirty, they don't practice the proper techniques, right? And this was also that pregnancy, childbearing, childbirth could be medicalized and kind of outsourced, right, to white male professionals, physicians, right? And then there were laws that would prohibit them from practicing. So eventually, by the mid-1900s, Black midwives begin disappearing. So what we look at, though, is we look at this kind of resurgence again, where people are now turning to midwives, doulas, right? That they're saying, actually, I don't think that I want to go into the hospital. I don't want to have a doctor, a typical doctor to birth my child. I was thinking I might go the midwifery route. So we're looking at this resurgence, and we're thinking about ways that Black women are trying to protect themselves and their babies as well through these kinds of techniques. So I wanted to just make clear that we're trying to think of how Black women are asserting their control and their reproductive justice, their reproductive control in this kind of way. So that's kind of my spiel. Logic is going to give you all an angle of where we're at, like what we're doing, the documentary side, the marketing side, all of those things, and ways that you can help. So I'll turn it over to him now.
Peace, and thank you, Nicole. Thank you all for joining us. It's my pleasure to be here with y'all this evening. We know that time is of the essence, so we want to value your time, and we appreciate you even taking your evening to join us. So my name is Born Logic Allah. I am the director of the film. You can call me Logic for short, and I'm going to walk us through the production of the film. So we're looking to interview mothers, doulas, birthing experts, especially since COVID. We're particularly interested in people in Texas. Now, we're willing to travel outside of Texas, but since we are based here in San Antonio, probably a majority of the people that we deal with are going to be in Texas. We've started our preliminary recording with one of our associate producers, who is Nikki McIver Brown. She's a certified nurse midwife here in San Antonio. We started interviewing her late last year, and we want to resume interviews starting in September and going out through October. We would like to begin editing this film in December and possibly have it prepared by early 2021. So if someone can mute their sound, that would be helpful. So what we're going to do really swiftly, Nicole, I'm going to ask you if you would turn off your video, and then I'm going to turn off my video, and we're going to show you the pre-release trailer of the film just in case you haven't seen it.
The U.S. is one of only 13 countries where the death rate is worse now than it was 25 years ago.
Black infants are more than twice as likely to die than white infants, a racial disparity that's wider today than in 1850, 15 years before the end of slavery. And black women are 3 to 4 times as likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women.
I know when I worked in the hospital, they would have small microaggressive things that would go on that I would notice. I would really notice. And like I said, it would just weather on me.
There is a kind of racism in the healthcare system, and most of it unconscious. It's a kind of bias that's existed for a long time that we've known about that is affecting the birth experiences of Black women in America.
I just think that overall, and the statistics don't lie, that our culture and the way that we treat Black moms, especially when they come in to have their babies, things need to be done very differently. Using midwives or seeing midwives, we have great statistics, whether we're in the hospital or out of hospital, just overall for our morbidity and mortality rates compared to other providers. Our babies do well. Moms breastfeed longer, decrease postpartum depression issues. It's just something about the way that we care for our clients that just sets them up for better outcomes.
I didn't hear that. You said you play what? Boggle? Okay.
Okay, so that is the trailer. I'm going to ask everyone if they could please remember to keep their sound muted. We'd appreciate it. So basically, like I said, we want to resume production in September. And the first step that we're really going to take is crowdfunding. Now, for those who may not be aware, crowdfunding is a way to raise money through individual donors while maintaining control and ownership of the project. Donors contribute at different tiers or financial levels in exchange for rewards or gifts. We're looking to begin in September to start crowdfunding, and we're looking at running a 30-day campaign. The platform that we'll be using is Indiegogo. I've used that in the past and it really works well. So that's the program or the platform that we're going to continue with. Our goal approximately is about $10,000. And so we'll be looking for ambassadors and marketing partners so that people can assist us during that 30-day campaign with spreading awareness on social media and through their connections. So we hope that some of you who are with us tonight might be willing to assist us in that. Those of you, now this event basically is free for tonight. But we did set up a donation button just in case people were enthused and excited and just felt like giving right away. So first off, thank you all for contributing. We really appreciate it. We were able to raise $200 just this evening, which we didn't really expect. But what I want to inform you is that what we're going to do is we're going to take the earnings that we gain tonight, and we have record of who is given. And what we're going to do is when we start the crowdfunding next month, we're going to add your name and your contribution to the crowdfunding to kind of push us towards that $10,000 goal. So just giving you a brief breakdown of what a basic budget would look like in percentages. So about 23% of what we raise will go to marketing, about 10% to the premiere of the film, 3% to music, ownership and licensing, about 22% will go to production, about 12% to research, 5% to travel, 8% to DVD production, 5% to graphic design, about 4% to online fees and services that we'll be paying for, and about 8% to legal. So this is basically a breakdown of what that $10,000 budget will cover. So how can you help us? We're looking for volunteers. We need help with admin type of skills, and things that people can do to help us would be scheduling outreach. So anyone who would sign up for as an admin volunteer would be helping us schedule interviews, and also reaching out to different organizations that might be interested. And at the end of this slideshow, I'm going to show you how to add your name to that list if you're interested.
The Bluetooth is ready to pair.
Social media assistance. So we're looking for people that can help us post to Instagram and Facebook. We're looking for ambassadors and marketing partners. So what an ambassador is, during the time of crowdfunding, you would help us connect with people who might be interested in donating, also helping us to connect with institutions and organizations that might be open to spreading the word. Also using your platform, your social media platform, to help spread awareness online. The other thing that we're looking for are people that are willing to donate or allow us to utilize pregnancy/birthing photos and videos. So all of the photos that you see, especially the ones off to the left-hand side of these slides and in all of our advertising, are photos that have been donated to us by mothers who want to help us. And so we're going to use and need a lot of photography, a lot of pictures, video. It does not necessarily have to be professional. We'll sift through it and see what we like and use what we can. So these are the different ways that you can help us in our goal. And with that being said, I'm going to stop the screen share from the slides. And what I'm going to do here, Nicole, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to transition to an online screen share and just kind of give you an idea of a few things that we're doing, and show you how to sign up for the volunteer list. So let me switch screen shares one more time here. And so the first thing I want to show you, so when we talk about social media ambassadors and people that can help us during the crowdfunding phase, which is very critical, we need as much awareness online as possible. And so what we'll do a lot of the work for you. So if you sign up to be an ambassador, this is an example of something that we'll have available. So this is Canva. Inside of Canva, we will have social media posts, and because we're going to have a 30-day campaign, we're basically going to have 30 posts inside of a Canva folder and make it accessible to anyone who's willing to be an ambassador. So it cuts down all the work for you. You can see that we'll, in the top corner, have a date for what day you should share the post. And then inside the note, we will have a message or the content, the wording that you should use with the post, and also a group of hashtags that you can copy and paste into Facebook and Instagram. So this is one of the ways that we'll be having individuals who are ambassadors help us. The other thing I want to show you is the website, which I will copy and paste the link and put it in the chat. But basically, this is our homepage for the project. And where I'm going to direct you to, this is the trailer. Two things I want to show you specifically. Here is where you can download an executive summary that kind of gives you an outline of the project. The second space that I want to show you here is the volunteer section. So you can, if you're interested in one of the three categories that we have, whether that's admin, social media, or crowdfunding ambassador, you can input your first and last name, your email address, and then check the box that you're most interested in. And then hit send, and then it will populate a database, and we'll be contacting each of you individually when we're ready to kind of activate and get everything going. So that's basically it. What we're going to do right now is open up the floor for any questions or comments, anything anyone wants to share with us, any comments, any feedback. And then we'll also read what you've already put in, because I see you guys have been writing already. So going to go ahead and just start reading through some of the comments, all right? My first grandchild was born August 12th. My daughter at 36 was high risk. That was complicated by fibroids that she was unaware of. Add to that the climate of COVID and the restrictions imposed. It was grueling at times, painful, and involved a lot of anxiety. I'm grateful for your work. Thank you. We definitely appreciate that. Someone says, welcome everyone. I'm a full spectrum doula here in NYC. There are many ways I can help and can put you in contact with many great people who are doing this work here in New York City. That would be excellent. We would definitely appreciate that. If you registered through Eventbrite, we automatically have you all's email address added to our email list. In that email is an email address where you can contact us directly. And I'm also going to put the website in the chat here so everyone can have access to the website. Then I'm going to go back through the comments, make sure I don't miss anyone. I'm willing to help. Okay, excellent. We appreciate that. And I'll take note of your email address. I would ask if you could also add it to the website, just so I don't miss it. Someone says, this is a wonderful opportunity to support an important documentary. In addition to these volunteer opportunities, are you looking for individuals to interview for the documentary? How can we connect them to you? Yes, we're definitely looking for people that we can interview. So basically, you can, from the website is a link to our email address. You can email us with any information. And once we start organizing outreach and calls, we will definitely be contacting people who you all suggest. Thank you. How can we donate prior to the campaign? Good question. So if you have not donated already, but you would like to before the campaign begins, let me screen share again and I can show you a location where you can go to. So if you come back to the homepage here, if you click on this button here at the left that says merchandise, this is our Melanized Media website page. There in the middle of the page is a donate button here. So you can donate here as well. So this is active. It'll take you through the credit card process where you can just enter your debit or credit card information and your name, and we will have record of who has given what. So that's another option for you as well. Excited to see this project. I remember when you started. Happy to see COVID has not stopped this. Indeed. Might have slowed us down a little bit, but we still got the ball rolling. We appreciate you, Sayana. Thank you so much. My baby died due to this problem. She was 13 days old. Wow, our condolences. Sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. Looking forward to seeing the finished product and contributing to the crowdfund. Excellent, we definitely appreciate that. And like I said, those of you who have registered with us through Eventbrite, we have your information. And every time we have an update, we'll send out email alerts so that you'll be aware. What type of parent experiences are you hoping to interview? Hospital birth, home birth, both? Nicole, did you want to speak to that?
Oh yeah, okay, so my audio is on. Yeah, I think, I mean, in terms of what we're looking for, and I've talked to Logic about what kind of angle we're trying to take in this. In terms of who we're interviewing, we want a range of experiences, because I think what you'll find is that the experiences versus a home birth and a hospital birth are vastly different. So we want a range of experience. So I don't want you to think just because you went with a hospital birth or you went with a traditional route that we don't want to also hear your stories. We do. Of course, Logic and I will kind of make a final decision about like what stories go in there. But I think one thing we want to showcase is the differences that hospital birth has versus a home birth, or versus a midwife, using a midwife and a doula versus using a doctor, right? And it's not to say that a experience with doctors cannot be affirming, right? When I was pregnant with my second child, and I know Crystal is in the comments, and told us about her loss. And I feel like sometimes with childbirth and things like that, people don't talk about this. Like there's no space to talk about child loss. So you kind of just end up holding it in. So I'm thankful for Crystal for sharing her experience. But I know when I was pregnant with my son and he was stillborn at 33 weeks, the doctors there, the hospital staff, they were amazing, right? It was a very sad, obviously it was a very sad, devastating thing, but they were amazing. With my first child, my daughter, I had a midwife, and it was an amazing experience. It was a difficult, it started off really well, and then things got really complicated really fast. But I think if I hadn't had my midwife, I don't know if my daughter would be here today. So I think that that's one thing. So we want to hear like a range of experiences, because again, no two women's birthing experience is the same, right? So please don't feel like you have to have had a home birth, you have to have done it this way. We want to have a range of experiences, and then we can kind of flesh it out in the final project.
Absolutely. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss anyone. Are we able to send this recording to people we think would like to participate in both interview and fundraising? Absolutely. By tomorrow morning, we will have a replay available. So the individuals who register who may not have had the opportunity this evening to join us, will make sure that we have a replay available and send it out to you all by the morning. Great. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. I'm happy to help, Kim. Thank you, Kim. We appreciate that. You know, it's a cause that I think a lot of people might not be aware of. And so I feel like this is a real opportune time to spread that awareness because of the situation that we're in just in the nation. People are at home for the most part, and the level of awareness or the desire for awareness of Black issues seems to be heightening right now. So I think it's an opportune time to educate people. How current do the birth experiences need to be? Your thoughts on that, Nicole?
Yeah. This is from Betty. They don't have to be. It doesn't have to be within the past 5 years. I feel like it could be from any range. And Logic, you can tell me how you feel, but I feel like it could be, because again, this one thing that you see with footage about Black women, about this, like the maternal mortality rate, the infant mortality rate, which there was a study recently that just came out that showed that when Black infants are in the care of white doctors, they're more likely to die, right? It just came out, right? So what I'm saying is, we want your stories. We want stories that show how diverse this birthing experience is for Black women. But I also feel like there's never really a space for Black women to talk about the diversity of their birthing experience. And typically, it just isn't discussed, even among pregnant women and things like that. There's just no place for it. So to your question, Betty, they don't need to be as current as I don't feel like there should be a cap on it, because I feel like your experience can help another woman who maybe went through something similar, right? So I don't feel like there should be a cap on the time period.
Indeed, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just wanted to make sure, check in. Did anybody have any other questions, anything anyone wanted to know, or any other comments? We don't want to leave you out. And we do appreciate your time, but just let us know. And if not, like I said, I did put the link to the website in the chat. So that's a great way to share information about what we're doing. You all have our email address, so you can contact us with any information. I showed the spot where you can volunteer, and if you would like to share that with others, then please feel free to do so. We do truly appreciate you all. Yes, I love this documentary because you're putting a face to the statistics. Our experiences are valuable. Great point. I feel like this is a great opportunity to talk about empowering experiences and things people did to actively participate in their care and demand better care, along with the experiences that don't get voiced. That's a great point. Definitely agree with that.
And Natasha, I think, because in some of the research I'm doing, I think that's what you see. You see Black women coming up with creative strategies to deal with this kind of obstetric racism that you're facing. One lady that I was reading about her testimony, she spoke about making sure that she brought her white husband with her to every doctor's visit, right? And having like a white advocate with her. Another woman spoke about always wearing her wedding ring so that people didn't think that she was a single Black mother who couldn't afford treatment, who was a poor Black mother. Not to compare the two, but this is what women are trying to do. They're trying to have these strategies to hopefully forestall these kind of negative impacts, that happen. So I think that you're right to say that what are Black women doing to actively take control over it? Again, one of the major things that Black women are doing is they're enlisting the help of midwives and doulas to come in. And again, if some of you in the comments have been under the care of a doula or a midwife, like with my first child, my midwife would come and sit and talk with me for like 2 hours. Like that was our visit. When I was pregnant with my son, I would go to the doctor's office, and I would wait maybe like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And then I see the doctor for maybe like 20 minutes if I was lucky, right? So there's a standard of care that we wanted to think about. And of course, everybody's experience is not gonna be the same, but I think we definitely wanted to think about this trend that we're seeing where more and more women are turning to midwives, right? And more women of all races actually are turning to midwives and doulas. So we wanted to think about that. So absolutely.
I honestly wasn't aware that this was such a problem for Black women until Serena Williams shared her experience. I'm excited to volunteer to be a part of this project. Excellent, great point. Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. So yeah. We truly appreciate you all joining us. We didn't want to take your whole night up. We just wanted to, have a discussion and present the information that we have, let you all know about the project. We're really excited about it. I really feel like this is going to be a great project. Even with the footage that we've gathered already, I can just see it taking form. And I'm really excited to be able to facilitate this story as best we can. So if you have any other comments or questions, you can always reach us at our email. We thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you have a positive and productive evening. Thank you all. Oh, wait. I don't want to leave nobody out. Hold on. Many doulas and midwives have found themselves in policy spaces striving to make change. There are so many ways to help. Absolutely.
Yes. And I had spoken to Natasha. She's thinking possibly about starting a Black Doulas of San Antonio collective. But yes, there are a bunch of Black Mamas collective. There's a bunch of Black organizations, Black maternal health organizations in Austin. Not as much in Texas as in San Antonio, I'm sorry. But again, this is the trend, like it's trending towards people doing this kind of natural birthing care. Like I know that, and I'm thinking of Marissa's comment about Serena Williams, right? I know that now Erykah Badu is a midwife, right? She started off as a doula and now she's a midwife, right? So people are kind of taking this seriously and saying that this is a problem. So my solution is to either become a midwife or become a doula, or to, hire a midwife to care for my baby. So I think that is that is what we're finding. And absolutely, there's a lot of policy that people like the Black Mamas Collective are doing. Santa, Vibrant Women, they're also doing, a lot of this is based right here in Texas, because Texas has one of the highest rates of maternal mortality rates in the nation, right? It leads the nation. So we can think about that, absolutely.
Indeed. See, someone says, thank you for this. Thank you, my daughter and I will be volunteering our time. Excellent. Thank you for your important work on this. I'm looking forward to helping out. Excellent. It's a group of us, SA Black Doulas Collective, coming together organically. So grateful for these ladies. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, hey, this was a beautiful pick-me-up. I feel excited this evening.
Right. And for you all who are joining, Logic and I have been, I think it was a year ago was it a year ago?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was a year ago. Yeah. And so like some people are saying, COVID-19 came like we weren't expecting it, but I think after talking to Logic, because we kind of had to regroup, it's still very much possible. We still can find creative ways. I was telling somebody, I was talking to Logic, and I was saying, well, can we use some people's voice? Does it have to be? And he was like, no, we can use their voice. It doesn't always have to mean that we're like right in the living room with them, right? So with modern technology, we can do so many things, and Logic is really good at putting this all together. I'm more so handling like the written part of it, but Logic is really handling the other aspects of it, the marketing, the documentary itself. So to see it kind of go into that next phase after a year of kind of getting stuff together is exciting. It's very exciting. Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a, this topic, this is something we talked about over a year ago. I know you were thinking about it before we even met. I was actually having conversations with Nikki about it before we ever met. So I just feel like it was really meant to be, and the universe brought us together.
Yes, and can I just say to Betty, because she says, please include the needs of postpartum women often neglected. Logic has mentioned Nikki. Nikki is amazing. She's the woman you saw talking in the clip. She is a midwife nurse specialist. I think I said it the right way, but she's a midwife. She actually has opened up her own
birthing center.
Is really good at, obviously she's a midwife, at taking care of the needs of postpartum women, right? Because like you're saying, oftentimes there's this emphasis on the baby, but not the woman and what she's doing. So the woman you saw talking is also very good at that, right? She has a birth center. Okay, so Natasha knows her. So Natasha knows who I'm talking about, and you all saw a clip of her speaking in the trailer. Right. So so there are people out here doing this work who are deeply committed. And I think when I was talking to Logic, he was explaining to me, because obviously he's done multiple documentaries. He was explaining to me that this is the passion that he's feeling from people who are just wanting to be involved and just wanting to be a part of this is something new. And I think that's because, again, we're talking about lives here, right? Like this is pretty serious. And I would say women have been affected by it. Even women who have positive health outcomes have been affected by it. So I'm really excited to be a part of it, and I hope y'all come along with us for the journey.
Absolutely. Great. Well, like I said, hey, here we go. Thank you. Looking forward to supporting the project. Peace to everyone, and good night. That's Cynthia.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Indeed. Y'all have a great evening.
All right. Bye.